Hey guys, it's Jessica from Pretty Prints and Paper, and I have long talked about giving you a flip through of some of my old stuff, and I'm finally doing it. I know a lot of new folks are joining the bullet journal community and really struggling to find their own way and their own style and figuring out how this system best works for them. Being part of the community on Instagram or in the Bullet Journal Junkies Facebook group is kind of a double-edged sword in that there's so many resources right at your fingertips, and that is also really overwhelming. Where do I start? The pressure to have really pretty layouts or the perfect looking spread is really present, and I feel that, and I wanted to show you a little bit of where I started last year. Now, the notebook that I don't have with me is the original bullet journal that I started years ago. So back when I just graduated college, and I tried it for the first time, and I really stuck with Ryder Carroll's original bullet journal system. If you haven't looked at that video, that's where I started, and it was extremely helpful because it gave me the basics, and I stuck to that to get the system going. From there, that's when you add on some of this other stuff. But last May, I decided to do a bullet journal, and I originally started with this notebook. This is a May Designs 8" by 5" notebook. It's 80 pages, and I dove right in. That's the other piece of advice for beginners that I have is just start. When you start, you have real data about how you're going to use the system and how you need to make changes to your system. And you can't preempt a lot of that stuff. As much as you'd like to say, oh, I know I'm going to need this, I know I'm going to need this, you don't really know how it's going to work for you until you use it. So that's how I started, was I just jumped in. So this was, I think, one of my first ones. So index, anybody who knows me knows I hardly ever use my index, and I still have, you know, random post-it notes. I knew that I didn't like that monthly list at the time, so I taped in a printable month for May. You can see I didn't use that, right? And I left some open note areas for that month. And I started May 1. This is the photo on Pinterest that has been pinned a bajillion times, and one that I actually tried pretty hard to do was this goals spread, keeping in mind my personal and professional goals for the year and trying to spread them out throughout the year. I talk a lot about this in my blog post for goal setting, so you can check it out there, but I've just washi taped 2 Project Life cards into it. And then, you know, I have my Alaska planning. Here's where I used very basic washi tape to categorize things I was doing and things I got done. Changed it up a little bit with the weekly on the left. This is so different from how I use it today, right? Here's my little water tracker. Here's how I felt that day. Stickers galore. Planning for Peru. And this is when I started using a little bit more decoration. And this is when I started using a weekly. So this is a huge turning point for me, was I wanted to see the whole week at once. And I used, funny how I circled back to this, but I started with this weekly tracker over here, added a row here. I was originally inspired by Kim, Tiny Ray of Sunshine. She has a blog post just of weekly spreads. You should totally check that out because that's where I derived my weekly from. And then weekend here, I started journaling a little bit on one line. I started tracking my sleep patterns because I wasn't sleeping very well. I tried again with June for the monthly and tried the monthly tasks, and the tracker down the side. This is where I start neatening it up in June. So this is weeks later. I really gave this monthly a real shot, didn't I? Here's my monthly tracker. And here, this idea I got from Dee at Decade 30 to have your monthly tasks with dates that you either want to do the task by or the date that you actually do the task by, and you're trying to do one of those tasks every day. It was a cool idea. It didn't quite work for me. See, and then I started tracking my budget in my weekly. This is a project planning spread. I needed to see the summer, what else was I needing to do to finish my projects. Moved to a monthly or a money tracker that was more visual here. Another monthly tracker before I gave up on it. So you start to see it plateau here. And this is when I start using the monthly spread as a list of Instagram challenge prompts. I like having color, can you tell? Okay, so I wrapped this book up, and I'll do a really quick flip through. This is where you start being familiar, right, with some of the stuff that I've done in my bullet journal. It starts neatening up. I start settling into this layout. And in October was when I realized that keeping all of the days in one layout was too cramped. So that's when I started splitting off after this experiment, going back to dailies. Do I really like a weekly or do I like a daily? I decided to stick with the weekly. And this is when I started adding that weekly review. So this is October. We're coming from May into October. November, I try to get fancy. Try to do more of a visual tracker. I gave up on the monthly calendar. I was running out of space here, and this is when I started deciding to do a weekly with the weekend attached to it. To have more space for the 5 days, and then have a lot more space for the weekend where I had all my chores to do that I pushed off, right? So now things are starting to get much more consistent. I use some washi tape for some color. I have toned down on the stickers quite a bit, and I just add some lettering details for intrigue, right? Now these are the familiar layouts. Oh, this is one of my favorites because of the colors. And that all brings me to where I am now, because it took me that long to figure out what I needed. So the sections are working. This weekly habit tracker, I came back around to it. I started off with it last year and I came back around to it. And I'm sticking with a couple monthly evolutions because every month it took a lot of reflection for me to figure out what was working and what wasn't to get to this point. I also bullet journal in a traveler's notebook, so these are my planning inserts, and that does not include my collections inserts. The collections piece, I really liked being able to keep those lists separate. So this is where I made all those extra lists, and I used it in a moleskin, and they're very basic. These are the post-its that I use to help me migrate. You'll see a couple of these because it's like, okay, I want to keep this layout, keep this spread, but maybe change what I wanted it to track. So this was even in October. I took random notes in here, some random work notes, meeting notes, and then like project brain dumps. They were all going in sketch notes. And very quickly I ran out of space. So I didn't want to go through this many inserts for my collections, so I decided to split off and do a couple things. I wanted to just keep with me in my notebook the notes that I wanted to refer to often, more regularly, and then I bought this Rhodia notebook for my at-home collections, and so I could split off the things that I didn't need to reference as much and keep that at home. And then I also have a work bullet journal. You can see that in my other video about the work notes and project tasks planning that I keep in that notebook that stays at work. So now it kind of relieves me of needing to ration my collections pages in my traveler's notebook. So these kinds of longer term lists, like my savings goals and cat stuff, stuff for car maintenance, my FSA, stuff that I don't need to have on hand all the time, go in here. And you can see that it, after trying all these different layouts, that I can really make some changes. I do a lot of rock your handwriting in here. And now have collections that make more sense and are more robust in my notebooks. Huh, still don't use the index. This is a cool spread. This is for my sister-in-law's wedding. I'm in it, so I wanted to have kind of a go-to place for things like a basic schedule of the week, my to-dos and to pack, what is going on Thursday, Friday, what the bachelorette is going to be for budgeting, and then shower budget for that, and then the expenses that I have for that. I'll talk more about this in another video, but this is my trip planning spread for Boston. I'm going there with my husband for a fun little side trip. So, another trip planning spread for Charleston that I'll be going to. So, all that to say, take heart, people. This took me months to get into a system that I love to use, and I change it all the time still. I'm still tweaking, I'm still experimenting, because there's not going to be one layout to rule them all for your entire life. There's going to be things that happen, things that change, you change, your needs change, and so you kind of have to see it as a grand experiment. You will get better over time if that's what you want to do. Take time every week to think about what has worked for you, what you need to change, and then do it. And then if it doesn't work, you turn the page. No one has to see this but you. Yes, there are bloggers out there. Yes, people are sharing stuff on Instagram, but it's don't compare yourself to the people who have been doing it for twice as long as you or 3 times as long as you. Remember that the point is to live the best life that you want. And this is a tool to help you get there. It's a tool to help you keep things on track. It's so that you can keep your to-dos in order, so that you aren't caught off guard by, you know, gifts or that one thing that you told someone that you would do last week. That's all it is. And if it's pretty, that's great. But more importantly, it's useful. So take the time to reflect on what really works for you, and I'm sure you'll find a system that works. So that's my flip through. If you like this video, like it, subscribe, share with your friends. But I will see you in my next video. Let me know your comments down below. Bye.